Now let's see how to read JSON files. I've prepared two files where the first one is a multiple line file where a record can span over multiple line, and the second file has the same content as the first one, but it contains one line, one valid record per line. Let's see how to upload a file like that. We are going to use the JSON method of the data frame reader. So let's say var JSON file equal to spark session dot read dot JSON dot, let's say, what's the path of my file now? I think the file lies somewhere here. Let me copy this. Then say JSON file dot print schema. So this is all you need to read a JSON file that contains one record per line. So this one. Let's see how this looks like. Let's build it. And run it. Okay, here you can see the schema of the file. We have multiple fields, some are arrays and some are map or struct. Spark automatically inferred the schema as we previously saw with CSV files. So now this was the simple file. Now let's see how to read this one. It's a more complex one. What we are going to do, we must add more options here. This is a multiple line JSON file, so the file will be read as a whole entity and cannot be split So we must first tell Apache Spark how to read it. Pass in the option multiple line, I guess, and then we say yep, true. Read on JSON from multiple line, and then just let me change this one. Now let's build it and then run it. Look like I've made an error here. Let's check together. Multiple line, multi-line. The name of the option is multi-line and not multiple line. So, build it and run it again. So with this option, we tell Apache Spark that a valid record in our file can span multiple lines. Now you can see that the schema was successfully inferred. So now let's see what will have happened if we didn't add this option and try to read a file with a file like that. Let me comment this thing out, build it again, and then let's run it again and see how the result looks like. So as you can see now, the schema is quite different to the previous one. And we have this column here called corrupt records. This is because the data are spanned over multiple lines, which means as soon as as soon as the parser is done with the first two lines, it doesn't know what to do else, because here you have a comma. So for the parser, it's like the first record is done, but the rest doesn't make any sense anymore. That's why we need to specify the options multiline if you are reading a file that contains such JSON data. So we are going to talk a little bit about this extra column you are seeing here, but let's use an easy file for that. Let's go back to the single line file. This one, for this one we don't need this thing anymore. And we are going to talk about corrupt records. Let me show you. Where is it? So the Apache Spark parser runs in 3 different modes. This is how it deals with corrupt records. The default one is the permissive records. In this mode, if a corrupted record is detected, an extra column with the name of corrupt record will be added to the schema, and the corrupt record will be stored in this column, and every other column in the file will be filled with null. So it's quite well. When it made a corrupt, put the malformed string into a field configured by the name column name of corrupt record and set other field to null. So this is the reason why we are seeing this. Where is it? This is because when there's an error and the parser is running in the default mode, we have a corrupt record here. So let's check this. Let me put an error in this file. I will just remove one character from the ID and read the file. And also let us print 5 rows. Let's build it and run it. So as you can see here, the first line, this one, is a corrupt record because obviously we are missing an ID of type, I think it should be integer or long. Where is it? The ID here is long. It's nullable, but it doesn't have any value here, so it considered that this is a corrupted record, and this is how it looks like. But the second record is then there. The first name is Elvin, friends, mail, IP address, and everything else. So this is the default mode. Other modes are, let's say, point options. What was the name? Mode. There's one called drop malformed. So in this mode, every malformed record will just be dropped out of the result. I think it was really drop malformed, right? Yeah, drop malformed, just to be sure. Drop malformed. Let's see how it looks like. So the result should not contain this row anymore. Also, this column won't be there. Exactly. As you see, the schema doesn't contain the corrupt record columns anymore, and the first 5 rows doesn't contain the ID 1 anymore because it's a corrupt one. This is what the drop malform mode does. The third and last mode is the fail fast mode, where the parsed will fail if it encounter a wrong record. So let's see how this looks like. We should get a error now. Yep. In the fail fast modus, we get an exception if any malformed record is found. And this is it. So the next thing we can check now is how these options behave when we have a JSON that is a multiple line one. So the fail fast is the same thing, but let's see how this looks like. The default mode we already know, so let's try this one. The drop malformed. Remember that when we have a file like this, starting with bracket and JSON record as spent multiple line, the file is then proceed as one entity and not as single records. So this has a, you must remember that. So now let's see what happens if you try to, first let's put an error in there like this, and then build this again, then run it. Okay, show only top 5 rows. As you can see here, this is quite not. So usually the file is then completely wrong, because we can see that the schema is not what we intended. It's not the real one, and all other field and columns are completely missing. So that's why when parsing a file like that, it's all, at least in my opinion, it's better to use the fail fast mode, so that you can then fix what is wrong, because this thing is definitively not a real schema and we don't know what happens. So that's what I will do. If I'm reading a multiple line JSON file, I'll always use fail fast so that I can then fix what's going wrong. So let's try fail fast. We already know how fail fast worked, so no reason to run this again. Let's take a look back here. Previously we had this name called corrupt record. We can change the name of the corrupt record using this option. Also, if you have times and stuff like that in your file, it's better to specify the date format. But for the date format to work properly, we will have to specify the schema of the file manually and then apply the date format into it. So it's the same. There are multiple options here. Try it and see how it works. So that's how you can read a JSON file. See you next time.